So in this presentation, we're going to discuss the Eagle Scout Service Project.
We'll cover the nature of the project, the administrative processes involved, and an overview of the Eagle Project Workbook.
Scouts render an incredible amount of service to their communities through Eagle projects.
You know, they sure do.
And what about all that cool paperwork?
Well, there's plenty of paperwork to be sure, and some of it may even be kind of cool.
Okay, so where are we going to start with this one?
Well, let's talk a bit about making the project a positive experience for our Scouts.
Okay. The service project is a big part of becoming an Eagle Scout.
It certainly is. Scouts do some terrific things for their communities through these projects.
The National Advancement Team is especially interested in making the process of proposing, conducting, and reporting on projects a positive experience for the Scouts.
We want a Scout's focus and energy to be directed at meaningful service.
Which means we don't want them to be spending undue effort or focus on the administrative parts of the process.
While things like proposals and plans and reports are important, let's make sure that we maintain our perspective and focus on the aim of the service project, a Scout's demonstration of leadership in service to his community. While working toward the completion of the Eagle Scout Service Project, especially during the proposal and approval process, a candidate has the right to expect the following.
There will be questioning and probing for his understanding of the project, the proposal, and what must be done, and it shall be conducted in a helpful, friendly, courteous, and kind-hearted manner. We will respect the Scout's dignity. He will be allowed, if he chooses, to have a parent, unit leader, or other adult present as an observer anytime he's discussing his proposal or project with someone who's reviewing it.
Project expectations will match Eagle Scout requirement number 5, and we won't require proposals to include any more than what is described in the Eagle Scout Service Project Workbook.
If it's requested by the Scout or his parent or guardian, an explanation of a proposal rejection will be provided in writing with a copy sent to the Council Advancement Chair and Staff Advisor. It will indicate reasons for the rejection and suggestions concerning what can be done to achieve approval.
Guidance that maximizes the opportunity for completion of a worthwhile project will be readily available and strongly recommended. Ultimately, however, the responsibility for success belongs to the Scout, and final evaluation is left to the Board of Review.
If a candidate believes he's been mistreated or his proposal wrongfully rejected, he will be provided a method of redress. This can include the opportunity for a second opinion and approval, either through another volunteer or professional advancement administrator, or the Scout executive, as determined by the Council Advancement Committee or Executive Board.
An advancement administrator is a member or a chair of a council or a district advancement committee, or a volunteer or professional designated according to local practices to assist in advancement administration. We'll begin by looking at the requirement. That's requirement number 5. While a Life Scout, plan, develop, and give leadership to others in a service project helpful to any religious institution, any school, or your community.
The project must benefit an organization other than the Boy Scouts of America.
A project proposal must be approved by the organization benefiting from the effort, your unit leader and unit committee, and the council or district before you begin.
You must use the current version of the Eagle Scout Service Project Workbook, product number 512-927, in order to meet this requirement. Now let's look at what each part of the requirement means. While a Life Scout. Work on a project, including the planning, begins after the Life Scout Board of Review. This is not meant to preclude an enthusiastic Star Scout from talking with his Scoutmaster, religious leader, or principal about what a good project might be.
Next, we have the words plan and develop. Planning and development require forethought, effort, and time, sometimes more than what will actually be required to execute the project itself. Thus, for the most part, they're considered part of the project and are detailed further once a proposal is approved.
It is very important to differentiate between a project proposal and a project plan.
Right. It's inappropriate to expect a Scout to invest the time required for detailed planning of his proposal only to face the prospect of his proposal being rejected.
So a Scout planning to build a footbridge, for example, would not need to have a fully engineered set of plans and materials at the proposal stage.
Yeah, right. He may want to have an estimated cost and other information proving the feasibility of the project, but does not need a fully formed plan at this stage.
The next phrase is give leadership to others. Others means at least 2 people besides the Scout. Helpers may be involved in scouting or not, and of any age appropriate for the work. In cases where just 3 people are not able to conduct a project to the satisfaction of the beneficiary, more would be advisable. It may be, however, that a well-chosen project conducted by only 3 people provides an impact not achievable in projects involving more people.
One of the purposes for the project is to demonstrate leadership, but it could be considered a more important element, perhaps, for a scout who has not yet established himself as a leader. It is for reasons like these that every project must be evaluated case by case on its merits and on lessons that will advance the candidate's growth.
Councils, districts, and units shall not establish requirements for the number of people led, for their makeup, or for the time worked on a project.
Nor shall they expect scouts from different backgrounds with different experiences and different needs all to work towards a particular standard. The Eagle Scout Service Project is an individualized experience.
Eagle is earned by an individual scout, and each one is different.
Everyone earns their own Eagle.
The next phrase is be helpful to any religious institution, any school, or your community.
Now, any religious institution and any school are reasonably self-explanatory. But what does your community mean?
If a scout wants to take his oath to help other people to another level and put his project to work for the community of the world, he's allowed to do so. A council may emphasize more local efforts, but should not deny worthy projects of a wider scope.
Can a service project be done for a specific individual?
Normally, your community would not refer to individuals, although a council or district advancement committee may consider scenarios where an individual in need can affect a community. For example, an elderly person living at home but unable to maintain their property, with the result being an attractive nuisance, a dangerous situation, or maybe just an eyesore, may be something that raises concern to more than that of just an individual. If it can be determined that it is the community that benefits, then it's a matter of identifying who would provide approvals. They must come from a source representing the community, such as a neighborhood association, watch group, homeowners association, or perhaps a division of the town or county.
Does the beneficiary have to be a nonprofit association?
The project beneficiary need not be a registered nonprofit. Projects may not be of a commercial nature or for a business, but this is not meant to disallow community institutions that would otherwise be acceptable to the council or district advancement committee.
Okay, so those could be museums or service agencies or some homes for the elderly, for instance?
Absolutely. Some aspect of a business's operation provided as a community service may also be considered. For example, a park open to the public that happens to be owned by a business. In cases such as these, the test is whether the project primarily benefits the community as opposed to the profits of the business.
The next statement is benefit an organization other than Boy Scouting. Projects may not be performed for the Boy Scouts of America or its councils, districts, units, camps, and so forth.
Exactly. The unit's chartered organization, however, is certainly a good candidate for Eagle projects, as are other youth organizations such as the Girl Scouts.
And then the requirement reads, proposal must be approved before you start. The proposal, once again, is an overview, but it's also the beginnings of planning, and it shows the unit leader or any representatives of unit committee, council, or district that the following 5 tests can be met. And these are 5 important tests, and they need to be applied to each project individually. Number 1, the project provides sufficient opportunity to meet the requirement.
So if I have a scout that wants to do a project that's him and one other person for a half an hour sitting at a table somewhere, would that be okay?
That doesn't sound like it's sufficient opportunity to meet the requirement, does it?
No, probably not.
Number 2, the project appears to be feasible.
So what if my scout comes back and now he says he's going to build a bridge across the Grand Canyon?
Does that sound feasible to you?
No, not really.
Yeah, and in that instance, I would think he would not pass test number 3. Safety issues will be addressed.
So does the scout have to address all of the possible safety issues in detail in the proposal?
Well, what we want to see in the proposal is some assurance that safety issues are going to be addressed. There may be some obvious safety issues depending on the project. For example, if a scout were to read and understand the Suite 16 of BSA safety and mention this in the proposal, we would have a reasonable assurance that any safety issues in the project were being addressed in the proposal. Test number 4 for evaluating the proposal is to look for action steps for further detailed planning.
Okay, so these steps are for planning, not the steps for the project.
The steps we're looking for are really things that are going to happen in the development of the detailed plan. For instance, engineering plans or costing out specific materials needed for the project, evaluating the number of volunteers that are needed at a specific time. Those are the kind of things that we want to see the scout is aware of and will be including when he gets to the detailed planning development part of the project.
It doesn't mean that the scout has to have the details of the plan. It just means he has to have a plan for developing the plan.
Test number 5 is we want the young man to be on the right track with a reasonable chance for a positive experience.
So this whole proposal thing, it's really sort of fuzzy around the edges.
Once again, the proposal step is to reasonably meet these 5 tests and to be sure that the candidate's on track for a reasonable chance for a positive experience. The detail required for a proposal really depends on the complexity of the project. It needs to be enough to provide a level of confidence for a council or district reviewer that the tests we've outlined here can be met, but not so much that, based on the possibility that the proposal can be rejected, it does not respect the time it takes to prepare.
So we really just want to make sure that they have a good idea and they're on the right track.
That's right. At the proposal stage, that's all we need to know. And it's important that we understand that there is one and only one Eagle Scout Service Project workbook. It can't be modified, and it must be used during the whole Eagle Scout project process. If properly used, it very nearly assures success.
The workbook should not, however, become a source for rejecting candidates based on technicalities.
We need to remember that the write-ups and signatures are important, but they're really just supportive of the actual work being done on the project.
The most important thing is that the scout is on the right track with a reasonable chance for success and a positive experience.
And we're going to conclude by saying, remember to use the most current version of the official document, the Eagle Scout Service Project Workbook, as produced by the Boy Scouts of America. You can find that at scouting.org or at the National Eagle Scout Association website, nesa.org. Many units, districts, and councils use Eagle Scout Service Project coaches.
So is this a new leadership position with a patch and training and all of that?
No, I guess the best way to think of it is not as a position, but something akin to serving on a committee or one of those other jobs in scouting.
Okay, so who can be a project coach?
Well, it's up to the council to determine who may serve as project coaches and how they may be assigned or otherwise provided to candidates. Coaches must be registered with the Boy Scouts of America in any position and have taken youth protection training. They may come from the unit, district, or council level.
So must an Eagle candidate use a coach? Is this a new requirement?
No, it's a Scout's option to use a coach or not. However, coaches are highly recommended, especially those from a council or district level who are knowledgeable and experienced with project approvals. Their greatest value really comes in the advice they provide after an approval of a proposal as the candidate completes his planning.
So can someone demand that a scout use a coach or hold up his project until he has a coach?
No, no one can demand that a scout use a coach or otherwise interfere by withholding their approvals for a project until he has one.
So coaches are completely at the scout's option.
That's right.
So what do project coaches do?
Well, a coach can help a scout see that if a plan isn't sufficiently developed, his project could possibly fail. Assistance can come through evaluating a plan and discussing its strengths and weaknesses, evaluating the risks involved in carrying out the project, but coaches shall not have the authority to dictate changes, withdraw approval, or take any other such directive action.
So they're providing advice and insight, but they are not controlling the project.
That's right. They're coaching. They use the method of positive adult association. They'll apply a little bit of experience and logic and common sense, and they're going to help the candidate make the right decisions. In many cases, candidates will not have undertaken something like an Eagle Service Project before. So we want them to obtain some guidance from others, to be able to share ideas, seek plan reviews and go through other processes that a professional project planner might use. But like a professional, the scout makes the decisions. He must not simply follow others' directions to the point where his own input is insignificant. On the other hand, adult leaders have to bear in mind that he's a youth, and expectations need to be reasonable and fitting.
So the scout is benefiting from the wisdom and experience of the coach, but the final decisions are the scout's.
That's right. Anyone coaching a scout in an Eagle project needs to be careful that they use a balanced approach.
So Eagle Scout projects themselves may not be fundraisers. In other words, primarily raising funds, even if it is for a worthy charity.
Fundraising connected with an Eagle Scout project is permitted only for getting the materials or otherwise facilitating the project.
So the fundraising must be approved by the local council. The only exception would be if the project only receives contributions from the beneficiary, the candidate, his parents or relatives, his unit or chartered organization, or from parents or members in his unit.
We won't go into all the details of how funds are handled, but you'll want to read the procedures and limitations on Eagle Scout Service Project fundraising, found in the Eagle Scout Service Project workbook on the reverse of the Eagle Scout Service Project fundraising application.
So for more information on these topics, check out the Eagle Scout rank application, the Eagle Scout Service Project workbook, and of course, the Guide to Advancement 2011.
There are also presentations about the Eagle Scout rank application and the Eagle Scout Board of Review that you might find helpful. If you have any questions about the information in this presentation or any of the others, begin by asking your district and council advancement administrators.
And if you stump them, you can contact the National Advancement Team at advancement.team@scouting.org.
So until next time, we're still who we are. This is Clark.
And this is Lisa.
And this is my Eagle Scout project.
No, it's not.
Oh, well, I know.
It just feels like it.
That's right. Thanks again.
Bye.